Shadowverse. Putting it bluntly, one of the, if not the worst, card game anime ever created. Just has some of the worst characters possible, the most boring plot imaginable, and honestly looks pretty much like it came out in like 2003 when we had a million disposable other card game anime. But when it wrapped up, despite being pretty maligned and hated, the app game that it's based on still does a lot of good business. So, you want to keep that cross promotion going. So they decided to make a sequel anime. And what do you do when everyone hated your last show? You make the best goddamn thing ever. That's right, everybody. Today we are talking about what is, in my opinion, going to go down as a all-time classic and great for this bizarre toy commercial subgenre, Shadowverse Flame. A series that, if you don't know, I actually covered kind of like every several episodes with a video. You can go back and watch those if you did watch the series. This is mostly going to be for people who have not. If you're at all curious about this genre, can it ever produce something really more than just like a weird Yu-Gi-Oh type show or a, let's be honest, boring Card Fight Vanguard show? If you want to see that, that is what we're going to say. I'm going to sell you on the idea of a show that is trying to sell you in-app purchases. I will cover just a little bit of what I thought about how it wrapped up at the end, but in a non-spoiler form since I never covered the finale previously. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right on into it with the concept for Shadowverse Flame. So the idea to Shadowverse Flame is we follow a young man named Light Tenryu who has recently transferred to the Shadowverse College, a school designed simply for people to play Shadowverse. However, there's just one problem. Light knows absolutely nothing about Shadowverse and is just kind of here because he's like, why not? They invited me to come. And yeah, that's kind of where the show starts. You think it's just going to be this guy and he's just going to be like a generic self-insert. But then we start meeting the rest of the cast. You have the mild-mannered but still always fun Itsuki. He's trying to keep the club 7th Flame alive. Light decides he's going to join in on this, and the first several episodes is just about meeting the rest of the gang. You have the laid-back, easygoing Subaru. You have the shy and often afraid to socialize Shion, the just giant ball of tokusatsu-loving energy that is Ren, and the sarcastic but good-hearted Tsubasa. Together, they form 7th Flame, and for the vast majority of this show, it's just them. That's it. The majority of the show just follows these 6 young teenagers as they learn to get to know each other, forge their bonds with each other, try to grow as people, as they motivate each other, as they just kind of move forward. And you know what? That is a fucking revelation for this genre. You see, despite the fact that card games have been around for multiple decades at this point and have their entire own subculture of just people getting involved, spending the money, but meeting friends they'll always have and experiences they'll never replace, and just a whole lot of crazy insanity in between. Card game anime companies don't seem that interested in really trying to capture what this is like. Instead of getting shows where people learn to go to their first locals or figure out how to properly budget for a deck they want to play or learn what kind of accessories they like to use or start going to bigger tournaments, start wanting to compete in like nationals and have to deal with the fact that this is a hobby that's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger for them, we get the world is at stake, my sister's gonna die, just all this generic crap. That's why the first Shadowverse didn't work. The characters didn't suck necessarily because they were that badly written, but because they just follow the archetypes we've seen time and time again. The plot wasn't boring because I don't enjoy a good save the world show. It was boring because it's the same one we see every time. And the animation was mediocre. Actually, Shadowverse Flame doesn't look that much better, so we're going to leave that one alone for right now. But yeah, that was just sort of the thing. Every time these shows are either too embarrassed because they're just a commercial to really like explore what it means to enjoy card games, or what I think a lot of times it is, they're being made by people who didn't grow up with card games, because again, they are a couple decades old, but it takes a long time for shit like that to permeate in Hollywood. Hence, look at why video game movies are just starting to get good now. But yeah, it really feels like for Shadowverse Flame, the writers sat down and really thought about, what do card games enable? What do they allow for people to do? They are a great way for people who maybe don't fit in or don't see themselves really being able to work in a normal social setting. It gives them that chance to meet others, to have fun, to connect with that person in front of you who, next thing you know, will be your friend for like a decade and a half. That is such a great thing these hobbies allow. And again, I know lots of people say that about sports or other things, but I think card games, because of the fact that anyone can just pick it up, I think have that ability to connect people in a way just other hobbies don't. And this show so beautifully goes out to capture. It's not the perfect one-for-one representation I would personally still kind of hope we might one day see, but it gets goddamn close. I love watching every relationship in this show forge. Rather, it's Light learning to finally get passionate with something as he helps Itsuki out, or Subaru having to deal with issues in his own family, Shion learning to like come out of her shell and connect with others, Ren and Tsubasa trying to like help each other out as they try and like feel like they need to fit into their new roles. That's what this show is about. That's all that matters for so much of it, and it's not boring, it's not uninteresting. I don't need explosions, I don't need aliens or ghosts or anything. I just need compelling, likable characters going on just little adventures together in just their everyday lives, and this show gives you that. I can't help it. I love this show so much and everything about it. I think if I were to pick out a favorite character, it's Ren. I can't help it. Some of the others have more complex backstories and arcs, but I can't help it. She's my just ball of Toku-loving energy, and I just fucking love her to death. But honestly, at any point in this show, you could get completely wrapped up in anyone else and what they're going through. And that is such a beautiful thing to see, and I want it more. As you see just like anime be consumed by isekai and battle shonen and card game anime not stepping up to their full potential, I want more things like this. I really fucking do. It's a beautiful show that if you like just watching people grow and that's your jam, give it a try. Now, naturally, I would be amiss if I did not take a couple minutes and talk about negatives with this show, as it's not perfect, but I think it does everything it needs to do very right. However, if I were to talk about gripes, first and foremost, as I said, it doesn't look great. A lot of these scenes where everyone like gets ready to card fight are really cool, but they reuse them a lot, so after a while, they do get a little bit old. Also, and again, this is not the show's fault, I feel like I'll never find the idea of someone busting out a cell phone and being like, "It's on, bitch!" I'll never find that exciting to look at the same way as like a deck or anything like that, but that's probably a me thing. Characters like Light take a long... I like Light, and I liked him throughout the show, mostly because like he's really good at like working the angles with people, but it does take a long time for you to get for his big character development. The show does this very interesting thing where it gets the guys and their arcs out of the way fairly quickly to focus on the girls. I don't know if the hope was to make this about the girls first, and then they were told you need the dudes, because this is still a boy-centric market. But a lot of the show ends up being about the girls, which is good because they're great characters. But it did kind of feel like the other three were forgotten about for a long time and then just came in later. But by far, this show's biggest problem is its last arc. Unfortunately, the last arc does become about saving the world and dealing with supernatural bullshit, and it does it all kind of by the numbers. It keeps the characters' arcs going for a while, but I thought by the end it was kind of retreading ground just to get to the finale. And a finale that honestly feels pretty dragged out and random and out of nowhere. I won't spoil anything, but if you're going to sit through the dozens of episodes it takes to get there, be warned, by the end you're just there to watch everyone get their happy ending. But yeah, no, in my opinion, Shadowverse Flame might be the single best card game anime. I don't know if it's quite my favorite, as many of you know, I am a big lover of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zale. Cardfight Vanguard is not perfect, but there is some really strong arcs there if you give it the chance, especially V-Series. But I think in terms of a single series that had a beginning, middle, and end and set out to tell one story, I think this is the best card game anime. You will find characters you love. They will be put on adventures that you will be compelled by, even though nothing crazy is ever happening. And I really do think this is a show worth checking out. Whether you ever pick up the app game or not, God knows I haven't, because I don't need any more hobbies in my life. But in the comment section below, give me your thoughts on Shadowverse Flame, what you liked, what you didn't like. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me for more card game anime talk in the future.